All right, now that this axle's out, we can have a bit better look at it, and I'll sort of run you through how a torsion beam rear end works. So, as I probably mentioned in the past, these rear arms here, these stabilizer arms, are unique to the 180. No other 206 has them. It just offers extra support to these trailing arms, I guess. So they just bolt onto this bracket on the bottom here, and those are the bushes that are totally flogged out there. These ones here aren't too bad, they're pretty soft. And then this piece here just bolts on. But as you can see, this is a torsion bar here, and you can see it's actually splined in here, so it's fixed to this end, that's part of the trailing arm there. And on this end, it's actually fixed to that's the subframe that bolts to the car. So that part there is fixed to the car, and this part here moves. And as it goes up and down, it twists this rod, and the torsional resistance of this rod twisting is what is your suspension. And then obviously you've got a dampener to limit its movement or limit the speed of direction of movement. Yeah, it's not a shock absorber, they're dampeners, and the quicker you learn that, the better. They dampen movement. It's pretty technical. But anyway, and then on the other side, you've got the other torsion bar, which is fixed to the subframe on this end, not the trailing arm. And then on the other end, it goes to the trailing arm, not the subframe. So that one there works that side, that one there works this side. And then that bolt there holds this bar onto the anti-roll bar. The anti-roll bar runs down the middle of this. This is just a hollow tube. Anti-roll bar runs down the middle of it, and basically that's your link, like your anti-roll bar link. So if you undo, actually it doesn't matter because it's splined. It's splined in each end of this. So I guess that just stops it from coming out. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so the anti-roll bar is splined here, splined there, and it just connects the two trailing arms together so that, again, for one to move and not the other one, it has to twist that anti-roll bar. So you're twisting this bar and this bar for this arm to come up, vice versa. Interesting? Not really. And then obviously you've got subframe bushes here, which are a little bit sloppy too. So I've got new ones of those. Actually, I can see daylight through that one. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Oh, you can sort of see a little bit of it there. That's not good. So this axle's crusty. Bushes are shot. I do actually have a set of replacement bushes for this axle, but my other axle's way better, and it's already been lowered and it's going in. So to lower these, you undo that little bolt there, and there's a concentric washer in there which locks into like a snap ring lock. So you take the bolt out, turn the washer until it pops out, another washer on the other end, and then you just punch this bar out, and then you lift this up to the next notch on the torsion bar, basically, and push the torsion bar back in. So the torsion bar will only go in if it's engaged on the splines on that end and that end. So you can go up by increments. So I think there's 16 splines per end, which theoretically gives you 32 positions around a full 360 for this to engage. So you go up, to the next position, lock it in. If it's not low enough, you go up 2 notches on the torsion bar and lock it in. 32, 16. I guess it depends if they're offset or not. So if they're identical, you only get 16. If they're offset slightly, you get 32. Not sure. But anyway, you only get certain positions of movement and it locks in. So it's another cold, dark, miserable day here in Sydney. So once again, I'm dressed for comfort, not for speed. Where are we up to on this? So not much further. Take you under here. You'll see that I've cleaned up those spots there where the back of those plates are going to roll in. I have also manipulated the floor into place on that side so that plate sits in there nicely. So they're ready to go. I've got these, obviously got a level sitting across the plates here, and got them both the same, so they're the same height, same angle, same everything. They are leaning down a little bit due to having some trouble with the tape measure. I think it was actually more the fact that I measured over here and the floor drops off a little bit over here. It's only a few mil, it's nothing. I will also pick these up just a little bit. So I'll get a bit of better fusion there anyway, so that'll make it better. All right, so I'm back down here on the floor where I belong. Now I've got my straight edge marking the top of the tube. The only thing I had that was long enough and straight is this piece of plywood that's been lying around. You can also use strings if you put, something heavy like a brick on each end. You run a string across. That also works. My string lines are in the ute, as is my straight edges, and it's raining. So because it's a round tube and a square, well, anything round, I need to make sure that my level is actually sitting at the top of the tube, because when you're looking down, if you're looking a little bit one way or the other, like, you can be off. So for instance, to take that away, if we sort of look down here, line that up with the top of the tube, that looks good. You put the square on it, and you'll find that there's actually a gap between the square and the tube. You push the square up against the tube, see how much that level moved. So it's a matter of perspective. Squares generally don't lie. The floor's not 100% level, but this is going to get me closer than I can by eye. So that one there's pretty good. So that's set where it wants to be now. Don't bump it. The measurement I got in the car was 1075. So run my tape from this because this is heavy and won't move. And I'm like 1150, so I need to take off a lot. So I'm going to get this set up, marked, cut, and then I'll bring you back in. So it's in, but as you can see, the foot doesn't fit. So I need to be able to get 3mm plate in there, and it's already very, very tight. As you can see, it's actually like past that there. It's hitting there, hitting the roof. It's doesn't look like it's pushing up on the roof skin. Oh, maybe it is just there. Is that it? Yeah, it's actually, you can see it's pushing up on the roof just there. So it needs to come down. Obviously, it needs to come down at least 3mm, probably 5mm to get clearance. But I also need to bring it in. So I need to pull the legs in a little bit tighter to get it to fit in here a bit snugglier. A bit less snugglier. So when I bring this in, it's also going to push that leg down a little bit. Why do you zoom so far in? Let's take out 6mm on both sides and see how we go. Because that one's the same. The foot plate won't fit in. It's extremely tight. It's pushing up on the roof. I did cut it long on purpose because I prefer to do this a couple of times than cut it short. So I did polish up the bottoms of the legs just so they're ready to go. I will also basically polish. I'll mark up. So the door bars are halfway up the door as the maximum height. So I'll mark out halfway in the door opening, and I'll polish an area on this side, and the bottom. So I need to mark left, right, because the diagonal brace and the door bar will go in here. So I must not polish that. On that side, I only need to polish where the door bars are going to go, and then basically on the corners, because two bars will intersect there. Again, all this grinding and stuff, especially with this rain around, I'm probably going to get flash rusting between now and when I actually go to do it. But I always clean the tube up as soon as possible, because I'm jamming this in here now, and it's putting tubes in and out is hard. It sucks. And if you get all your tubes in and braced up and tacked together and you're happy with them, then you've got to take them all back out again to dress them. It's a mammoth pain. It's easier just to dress them now on your first cut, dress them, and then subsequent cuts, I'm still going to be dressed. I don't need to worry about it again. it's done. Once I get it all in and I'm happy with it and get my tacks in, then I don't need to cut them out, hopefully. And I definitely don't need to cut them out to dress tubes, and dressing tubes when they're in there sucks. So that's my tip. Just do it. Just get all your dressing done. Do it. I would also be dressing up here and back there, but I haven't actually decided where the front and back legs are going to go yet. So as soon as I decide that, I'll clean those parts of the shell up as well, because again, getting to that point where you're ready to weld, getting excited, going, yes, the cage is going in. Hang on a second. Take it out. Got to sand some paint off. Sucks. Just do it. So I'm going to take this out now, trim a little bit off it, pop it back in, and then I'm not looking forward to measuring these lateral bars. It's hard, but we'll do it. So typical me fashion, flip-flopped again. I figured while I had the welder out and the blanket set up and everything, I may as well fully weld that lower plate in, because welding on this thin steel, it's the kind of thing you don't want to do when you're in a not welding mood, and I was in a pretty good mood, so fully welded that in. Now there's a real technique to welding thick steel to very, very thin steel, and the trick is set your welder a little bit lower. So I basically, this is probably 0.6. I sort of say that car bodies are 1 mil, and then the steel we're welding in is 3 mil. So if I set the welder for 2 mil, that's generally, if you set the welder for 3 mil, it'll just blow right through this. Regardless of what you do, you can't really weld properly. So I set it for 2 mil, and then you want to fire all your heat into your plate. So you don't want to weld normally like you would on a normal fillet weld, where you're bringing the wire into the corner. You want to weld, basically put your wire on the top edge of the plate and weld, and let the weld drip down onto the 1 mil. It takes absolutely nothing to fuse this thin plate. So just weld onto your thick plate, let it drip down. And also, you basically have to figure everything out about welding. Instead of pushing a nice bead through, you're essentially tack stacking, and you want to pull. So you basically want to get a decent weld in the corner. So you might have to hit it a few times, build up some material in the corner, and then you fire your wire into that, and basically use that as your heat sink and get as much weld as you can. Let it drip down onto your plate, let it cool off. And I mean, like, let it cool off. Wait until it's changed back to like a dull red, gone from, because hot weld obviously is yellow, then it goes red, then it goes black. Wait for it to go yellow, hit it again, let it drip down, back off, and it'll take you a while to work out what works for you. But once you've got something working, don't change it. You'll get confident, and you'll start to run a bit longer of a bead, and you'll blow through. And once you get a blow through on this, it is so hard to fix. You'll end up just chasing it, and you'll just keep blowing a hole out. Another thing to do is you can actually use a jack to hold a piece of plate steel up from underneath to work as a bit of a heat sink. That can help. But yeah, you're essentially just stacking up tacks. Just keep blowing back in. And then, so I've got that welded in. I've got this plate here tacked in. I've tacked it in places where it's really easy to undo. When you want to tack steel, your first instinct is to throw a tack in here. But I know that I have to get this piece of plate out, and trying to get that tack out of there cut is a nightmare. So I've got a tack there, I can get the grinder in here. I've got a tack there, I can get the grinder in there. And the tack there I can break off because it's a very terrible tack. So that's what I've done. And they're all terrible tacks. If I hit this with a hammer, it'll come out of here. Even if when I'm putting the cage in, it might break out. But I want that. I want it to basically come out as easy as possible and not rip anything, or not have to put any effort into tacking it. So what I'll do is I'll throw the blanket over on the other side, and I'll set the camera up. You can't really see anything when I'm welding, but you might get a bit of an idea as to what's going on. There's plenty of, obviously, tutorial videos on here, and you'll see, even with how much I've cleaned this up, you'll see exactly how smoky and horrible it is. I've got a terrible fan over there, which is hopefully going to suck fresh air in out of the garage door. blow it over me. But yeah, it's sort of just weld for a bit, let it clear out over and over and over again. So I'll move the blanket. As much as I've always said that I don't really care about, my cars are pretty crap and I don't care about them, and I get weld spatter everywhere. It always does bother me. So that's hence the reason I decided to do this, because I had the blanket set up. If I'm going to set the blanket up, I'm going to only do it once, because lazy. So get you on a tripod. Let's go. All right, we can breathe in here again. Not very well, it still stinks, but anyway. So what I'm actually trying to do here is I'm trying to weld this panel, obviously, but it's a mistake that I've made twice in the past already, is I forget that these cars aren't symmetrical. This heel board's a different angle to the sill on this side than this side. So I've ended up with a bit of a gap, and instead of making another panel, I've just sort of twisted it here a little bit, and I've got just a small gap here and here that I'm going to have to fill. So I'm welding this panel to the floor first, and then I'll come with another pass of weld over the top, and that'll fuse that weld to this heel board, and that'll tie everything together. Whereas over on that side, I was able to do it in one pass. And obviously I didn't do a real good job of cleaning up that under sealer, which is that's what's caught fire. So I'll grab my belt file, and I'll give it a bit more of a tidy up in there so I can get a decent weld in here on the second go round. Otherwise, this weld here came out all right. About as good as can be expected for what we've got. I'm going to need some safeties for this. So, stolen the power cord that runs the fan, because everything that I have runs on power. A lot of people wonder actually why I use a corded grinder. And well, the reason for that is I actually bought that grinder back when cordless grinders were still really shit. And then I've never bothered to upgrade it because it works. And I actually do have two cordless grinders, but I use them at work every day. And I work in here like one day a month, so it makes sense to leave them in the ute. And I'm usually too lazy to go get them on the weekends, so that's life. Now that I've got the seat back in, we can see that on the plane of the tube, I probably will get that diagonal in with a fair bit of clearance. Let me get something kind of long here. Let me get this straight edge. We'll pretend that this is the diagonal. This was the issue that I had last time, was that this hit the back of the seat. So it's going to run from somewhere down there, 100 mil from the bottom, within 100 mil of that corner. And you see I'm quite close there. And it looked when I had the seat out like I had plenty of room. Now it's looking quite close, and if I want to get a harness bar in there, I'm going to have to be extremely accurate with hitting the right spot. So I have a feeling I might just drop this bar back to this point here. It'll give me an extra 10, 20 mil. It's not going to hurt anything moving it back that far. Like, it's really close to the seat. Sorry, putting that back. Yeah, so the bar's really close to the seat as it is. Like, you can see it's almost directly over my helmet, moving it back an extra 10, 20 mils. Not going to hurt anything strength-wise, so I'll do that. Okay, so I've checked the position of the cage with the seat, and I'm happy with it. I'll just bring you in real quick. Next tubes we're going to be working on are going to be the front lateral bars, which go here. And it's very, very vitally important that these points here are exactly where they're going to stay. Otherwise, my front legs will be different. They won't line up, and they'll be weird. So, again, measuring in the car is difficult because things might not be symmetrical. Like, I can measure from the tube to that hole on both sides, gets me pretty close. Easiest thing to do, you'll remember we leveled the car. So I can run the level across in here and get this level, and then I can measure from the level to the tube. So if I've got the level, level, I know that I'm touching the same part of the car on both sides, and I can measure out to the tube. And on this side, I'm 25 mil. And on this side, I'm 7/8 of an inch. So I know that I need to go out a little bit on this side. Something like that. Double check it because I probably put the level in a different spot this time. So double checking again. So on this side, I am still 7/8 of an inch. And on this side, I am 20 before I moved. It's 24 mil, and that's 7/8 of an inch. That's perfect. So that's exactly where I want it now. Don't touch it. The bottoms of my legs are way out. I need to twist them around a little bit, but every time I do that, it ruins the top. So I'm going to leave the bottoms as they are, and I'm just going to throw some tacks on them. Or actually, I'll probably tack the cage to the body at the top so it doesn't move. Get my tops in, and then when I've got my door bars going in, I can manipulate the bottoms of the legs and I can push them to where I need them. So I'll get these top bars in and tacked first. So I'm going to have to go for a run and get all of my measuring equipment and do this. I don't want to do this